Hi there, I care and you matter. I'm Shannon and welcome to my channel. And I am so relieved to have last week over with. If you've watched any of my other casual conversations, which this is, you know that last week was a week that I had been dreading for literally at least a month. And well, I won't say it went great, at least it's over, right? That band-aid has been ripped off. Excuse me. Monday, Mark had his Social Security Administration interview, which was done by phone, which meant, which was great. I didn't have to take him into an office, but it did mean that I did have to keep him home from school. And he was as nervous as, what is that, a cat on a hot tin roof? He kept asking me, Mama, what they going to ask me, what they want to know, what it's going to be like, how long it's going to be. And fortunately, I had emailed his teacher to let him know he was going to be out of school. He's actually graduated. Well, maybe not graduated. He completed high school, right? Because he's in special education, has a very low IQ. He didn't meet the graduation requirement. So he completed 12th grade. Now he's in an employment transition program, it's called. And we just call it school because the school bus does pick him up. And so I let her know that Mark was going to be absent because he had this Social Security Administration interview, and essentially what it was is to determine disability, if he was eligible for disability benefits, SSI, which is supplemental security income. And so she said, oh, I'm glad you're getting that done. And I said, hey, can I ask? She said that a lot of other kids' parents had just recently gone through that. And I said, I have no idea what to expect. And she said, well, all I can tell you is some take like as little as 10 minutes and others take as long as an hour. And I'm like, oh, Lordy, Lordy. So when Mark, I was grateful for at least that information. And so when Mark would ask me, at least I could tell him, look, I don't know what they're going to ask. I don't know what they want to know. I do know that lots of your friends have already gone through this, so you're not alone. And so we went into it, and the first part, first of all, if you think the DOL or the DMV is, if the people there are cranky, ooh, granted, they're not there to be friendly, they're there to do a job, but it made it really cold and uncomfortable, especially for Mark, who already has a hard time understanding social cues, has a communication disorder. And so I started the conversation by saying that Mark is here. The phone is on speaker. I'd like to be here in order to help better explain questions should Mark not understand them. And I was very quickly cut off and told that I was not allowed to help him, that he would have to answer the questions on his own, at least to ID him. And I'm thinking, oh, good luck with that. Because Mark already struggles, and then you add on a huge helping dose of anxiety, and his ability to function is that much less. So she asked some questions, and he was able to answer maybe half of each question. He could give some of the information, and she said, okay, let's just try this. What is your Social Security number? Mark doesn't know what a Social Security number is. And fortunately, I had created a folder. Mark's favorite color is yellow. And so I have a folder in his favorite color. So I know that all of Mark's DDA, Developmental Disability Administration paperwork, SSA, Social Security Administration paperwork, every important document that I might need at a moment's notice for an email or a phone call, I've got in this folder. And when I open this folder up, there's a Post-it note in there with Mark's Social Security number in bright red. So as soon as that agent asked for that information, I literally opened this folder on the table and just put my finger on his number. And I'm just praying to God that his number recognition skills were going to be on par that day. And praise the Lord, they were. Oh, that was rough. And she heard Mark stammering. She said, if you have to read it off a piece of paper, that's okay. And I'm thinking, okay, good, because that's what we're doing. We're working with what we got. So I'm very grateful that I had done myself and Mark the favor of, being prepared, having everything there and ready to go. The interview, it turns out, and I'm sorry about my camera. I don't know why it keeps going in and out, but the interview for Mark, I would say, was right in the middle. It lasted about 25, 30 minutes. And they asked all sorts of questions. in relation to his ability to function. What is he currently doing? What kind of program? Is he working full time? Well, no, obviously he's still in school and training. So that was relatively okay. Fast forward Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday we had the annual assessment with his DDA, social worker. And again, that's Developmental Disabilities Administration. And that is a organization, not an organization, an administration, part of DSHS, that helps people or services people, they call them clients, with intellectual disabilities, which Mark has. And so once a year they come to our home and they ask a ton of questions from, does Mark need assistance brushing his teeth? Does Mark need assistance toileting? Does Mark need assistance getting dressed? How independent is he at taking care of himself in the morning? Things like that. I mean, very minuscule. They ask, can he swallow? Things like that. And they ask the exact same questions every single year to get a good assessment of Mark's abilities and needs. And this was not one of the longer ones, thank the Lord. The social worker was here for about 3.5 hours, which is shorter than it's been in the past. I've had social workers here for as long as 5 hours. But it is taxing. It is a lot of talking and going through specifics. And it was interesting because this year the social worker did some things specifically with Mark that were different, that I'd never seen him do with Mark before. And one of them was just asking me some questions, and my husband was there, and that's the first time Jason was there with me. That was nice. I felt supported in that. So maybe that helped some too. But the first thing he asked is, Mark, can you tell me what year it is? And no joke, no exaggeration, the three of us, Jason, me, and Mark's social worker, are sitting there in silence for a good minute, because we're supposed to give him as much time as he needs. And he's looking down. You can see he's chewing on the inside of his cheek. And I didn't want to interrupt him. Normally I would say squeeze your knees, because he is self-injurious when he's dealing with anxiety. But he was really concentrating, and I wanted to give him every opportunity to get this correct. And he said, November? And the social worker handled it great. And he said, oh, that's good job, Mark, but can you tell me what year it is? November what? And then he said 2025. And then he corrected himself to 2024. So I was impressed with that. And then the social worker went through some other things, like he asked Mark to write a complete sentence, which he tried. He drew a short picture with lines and asked Mark to copy it. Things of that sort. And so I'd never seen that done, and I don't know how Mark stacked up in terms of what the social worker was looking for. I honestly wasn't interested in making the appointment go any longer than it needed to be. But I'm so grateful that all of that's over, and thank you for all you guys who have been encouraging me on that. However, I did go in Thursday morning to get, was it Thursday morning? No, I think it was Tuesday morning of last week. I went in to go get my labs drawn. Twice a year, I have to get labs drawn for my rheumatologist. I have psoriatic arthritis. And, I haven't been feeling great physically, but I've been hobbling along, right? It's been a crap ton of stuff and pressure leading up to this week. And so I've just been, one foot in front of the other, get stuff done. Well, I went in to go get my labs drawn because my appointment with my rheumatologist is this Friday. And I get a my chart message from her, and she said, all of your liver and kidney functions are fine, because they have to track that, because I've been on a lot of heavy medications over the course of many years, biologics, chronic chemotherapy, because the biologics were causing, this is a whole thing to unwrap. I was taking Enbrel, that didn't. And all these medications, these biologics, and if you're on these, I don't want to scare you. This is very, very rare. But I tried Enbrel and then started having some neurological effects. I was losing feeling on the right side of my face, and CAT scans revealed Enbrel was giving me brain lesions on my brainstem. So had to stop Enbrel. Then I tried something called Kineret. A couple months later, same thing happens. Right side of the face goes numb, brain lesions on the brainstem. Stop that. Then I tried another one several years later. Kinneret, exact same happened. A couple months would go by. It would work great in my body. It would work. The arthritis, the inflammation would go way down. But I would always have the neurological side effects, and lesions would show up on my brainstem. Fortunately, the lesions would go away 6 to 9 months after I stopped the biologic medication. Well, every time those biologics, I had to stop them, I had to go on something else to control the psoriatic arthritis, and that was usually methotrexate, which is a chemotherapy drug. And obviously, it was not the same dosage that cancer patients get. However, I was taking intramuscular injections. I was doing myself. I mean, we're talking a 3-inch needle. It was not fun. And it made me nauseous. I lost some of my hair. It was just horrible to be on that kind of medication chronically every week while you're caring for, at that time, toddlers and young school-age children. So it's very important that my doctor monitor my liver and kidney functions. And she said, those tests are all great. You're fine. However, your inflammation markers, your C-reactive protein, your sedimentation rate, she said they're very high. Are you okay? Do you need some help? And it was, I kid you not, it was the first, she wrote me this my chart. I got it at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I cried because I did need help. I do need help. I've heard it said that we might feel like we're doing okay because we have to, but the body keeps the score, right? The body knows. And so I think the pressure and the stress of just having to function and manage all of the pressure of that week has been a lot. And so I'm going to try and take this week. I actually have an appointment with her this coming Friday. I didn't ask her for help because, I'm thinking I've gone this far. I think I'd rather talk to her first. But it's been frustrating because I normally go for a nightly walk with my husband. He has type 2 diabetes, so it's very important he be active. And he goes every single day. And I had been going every single day, but I'd go for a day, feel fine, but the next morning wake up and have some real difficulty moving. And so I was off and on, but I'm missing my walk. And in order to have my same level of activity, I think I need a little help. So I'm going to be talking to her about that on Friday. But I'm also hopeful that now that the stress of the Social Security Administration interview and the annual assessment, I'm hoping that that's over. Now, hopefully, I'll start to feel a little better on my own now that that stress level is gone. Not to say that the stress is gone because, there's more stuff right around the corner, right? Isn't there always something right around the corner? Which leads me to something I've been giving some real serious thought to. I wrote a book right over there, Megan the Tiny Token. It's a first book in what I had designed to be a series of middle grade fiction books. And while I'm not saying I'm quitting that because I enjoyed writing it, I am feeling a strong push, urge, desire to really focus on, okay, how do you mitigate stress when there is no light at the end of the tunnel? How do you get to be okay? How do you manage it? How do you navigate it? How do you mitigate it when you can't entirely get rid of it? That's something that's percolating in my mind. What kinds of specific, practical, concrete things, what are things you can do to make things, well, like I've said in other videos, I don't like to make do, I like to make better. So how do you make a situation better when you can't just make things go away? Because isn't that all of us? I mean, most of us. I mean, our challenges aren't the exact same, but the feelings and the struggle, I think, are. And honestly, I wonder if that's probably the reason behind a lot, or I don't want to say the reason, because mental health issues, there could be so many reasons for that. Biologic, environmental. But it certainly doesn't help, does it? And don't get me wrong, a little bit of stress is a good thing. You know, some people, like my husband, don't act unless there's a fire lit under their butt, right? So stress in that situation could be an absolute positive thing. And I do that. Sometimes I try to light a fire under my own butt for getting momentum going on projects that might not necessarily have a hard fast deadline on them because they're not tied to a paycheck. But that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have value and they don't have worth and they're not important. They absolutely are. So I have fun little ways that I try and let a fire under my own butt. However, there are times, and I'm sure you hear me, and I'm sure you know this all too well, when the stress level goes up, and it's due to something you have absolutely no control over. And the only control you have, the only control I have, is how we manage that stress level while it's there and what we do in relationship to it. And we can either have maladaptive or negative reactions or negative ways to manage it, or we can have healthy ways to manage it. And I gotta say, I'm sure you remember if you watched my other video, I'm dealing with kidney stones, or at least what can develop into kidney stones. I have a high level of calcium oxalate crystals in my urine. Good times. So on top of all the stress, I can no longer eat chocolate. I can't have my brewed iced tea, which wasn't unsweetened. So I thought, oh, I'm being healthy, right? Drinking brewed iced tea. Well, drinking too much of that to deal with the stress, because I'm not going to lie, liked the kick of the caffeine. But not only all that, I had to give up my spinach salads that I loved. So it's like, well, crap. Okay, so I'm dealing with all the stress, and then you're taking away all this good stuff that I enjoy. And by good stuff, I don't mean like, sugars, carbs. No. I mean spinach. I mean unsweetened iced tea. And yes, I liked a tiny little stick of dark chocolate every single night. It was 60 calories. It had like less than 5 grams of sugar, but it was dark chocolate. It was like 76% dark chocolate. So I was eating it for the antioxidants. So that's gone. So I've got to figure out some more things I can lean on to take care of myself and help me manage the stress. So yeah, I've just been feeling a nudge to press pause on the kids' books right there, and maybe throw myself into another project that I think would really benefit me personally. And because I'm coming from a very real, authentic place, because right here dealing with it, hopefully would be that much better at helping other people in a similar situation. Again, the challenges don't have to be the same. Stress is stress, right? But the challenge there and the feelings are the same. And so I think I would really, hopefully readers would relate to that. And I think it would be very cathartic, what's that word? Cathartic to write about, and hopefully beneficial. So I'm tinkering and toying with that idea. If you have an opinion on that, let me know. The downside to that is I've heard it's really bad to jump ship or change genres too much. And I'm like, well, I'm not giving this up. It would just be adding another layer. And honestly, that was a layer that I was focusing on before. When I started this channel, I called it Hope, Cope, and Nope with Shannon. Because that's what I do. That's my strategy. That's been my MO for many, 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 many years. Because, I haven't shared this before, but I feel like, just like there's 2 sides to every problem or every challenge, there's actually 3 sides to every problem. We have our heart, our head, and our hurdle. So we have to deal with our heart, how we're feeling, how it's affecting us emotionally. Our head, how are we managing our thoughts, our self-talk, our critical thinking? Are we really having the correct perspective? Not toxic positivity. I hate that. But are we being critical about the situation? Are we having good situational awareness? Are we looking at all aspects of the situation? And last but not least, the hurdle. There are many, many hurdles in our lives we can't change. They just are what they are. It is what it is. But how do we navigate around that hurdle? How do we mitigate it? How do we find ways to not resent it? Because honest, I have been there. When you look at the future and you think there's nothing more but more stress, more hurt, more pain. Our son's condition is degenerative. So it hurts sometimes to think about the fact that he reached his mental peak. His intellectual peak was when he was in the 4th grade, 8 or 9 years old. That was when he had the highest IQ. Because of his congenital metabolic amino acid disorder. Say that 10 times fast. His body can't process a semi-essential amino acid, which means he's on a strict diet but we got to feed him, and we have to feed him a certain amount of this amino acid because it's a semi-essential. And also this particular, it's arginine. Anyway, it has to do with brain function too. So, we don't have a choice, but we know that the older he gets and the more he eats, because the more his body needs, it's degenerative. It will get worse. He will have losses, not gains. And that is a hard pill to swallow, particularly when you're the primary caregiver. Jason, bless him, he has been trying to help, and he's taking on a lot because now he's home, because he's unemployed. But he doesn't have that history there with Mark like I do. He doesn't know Mark's medical situation as well as I do. I've gone to the doctor's appointments. I've managed his paperwork. I've managed all the issues through school throughout the years, his IEP meetings, yada, 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 yada. So there's that. But, so I've got lots of ideas. And I'm thinking maybe I need to unload some of those ideas bouncing around in my head. So, hey, if you've watched this far, I've just rambled on for 20 minutes. Apologies. If you've watched this far, thank you so much for listening to me. But if you have an opinion, the only thing stopping me is I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not supposed to do this. But then I'm thinking, I'm self-published. Who cares? Do what I want, right? Give me your 2 cents. Leave me a comment down below if you have a strong feeling, if one way or the other resonates with you. Should I stick it out and finish the second book that I'm working on in this kids series, Tether and Token, which I like. It's enjoyable. And I started working on that because I needed something completely outside of the Mark situation. But now I'm feeling pulled in another direction, and I don't know if it's just shiny new thing syndrome, you know what I mean? So Jason thinks I should do this. Keep going on this. I'm feeling pretty darn strongly that I should stop. Not stop. Press pause and work on another book too. Weigh in, vote, give me your opinion. And I'll be eagerly watching because, I really appreciate differing opinions because they don't sway me one way or the other, but I like taking in other people's suggestions, digesting them, chewing on it, and then it makes me feel better about whatever decision I eventually do come to because hopefully I've made it carefully and have taken other perspectives into consideration. So there you have it. That's where I'm going to end today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and wherever you are and whatever you're doing this week, I hope you have a great one. And I will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.